The rooftop helipad sat like a polished crown atop the Vance Global Tower, glass and steel rising from the city with unapologetic dominance. Wind swept across the concrete pad, tugging at loose papers and fluttering the edges of tailored jackets as executives clustered near the entrance doors. The helicopter waited at the center, sleek and black, its body gleaming under the afternoon sun like a trophy meant to be admired before being claimed. Alara Vance stepped out first, heels striking the concrete with sharp, confident clicks. Every movement she made carried authority, her posture straight, her chin lifted, her eyes already scanning for imperfections. At 32, she was the youngest CEO in the company's history, a fact whispered with both awe and resentment in boardrooms across the city. She wore success like armor, and today, it fit especially well. The meeting had gone exactly as she planned. The board had resisted at first, but resistance always crumbled eventually. Money, power, vision, she had more of all three than anyone else in the room. As the wind snapped her blazer against her waist, she allowed herself a small, satisfied smile. She was leaving for a private investor retreat, and nothing, not delays, not incompetence, was going to ruin her momentum. That was when she saw him. He stood near the helicopter's landing gear, crouched slightly, wiping grease from the metal with a rag that had clearly seen better days. His jumpsuit was faded blue, creased from use, with a stitched name tag that read A. Hale. A small utility cart sat nearby, stocked with cleaning supplies and tools. He looked entirely out of place among the polished executives and million-dollar machinery. Alara's smile vanished. She checked her watch, irritation flaring. "Why is maintenance happening now?" she said sharply, her voice cutting through the wind. "My departure was scheduled 20 minutes ago." The man looked up slowly, as if he had all the time in the world. His face was calm, his expression unreadable. Dark hair was pulled back loosely, a few strands escaping in the breeze. His eyes met hers without hesitation. "Routine inspection," he said. "Won't take long." The casual tone set something off inside her. "Routine," she repeated. "Do you have any idea how much my time costs?" He stood, folding the rag in his hands. "I have a rough idea." That answer earned a few uneasy glances from the executives behind her. Alara took a step closer, heels digging into the concrete. "You people are always like this," she said, her voice laced with disdain. "Always choosing the worst possible moment to do your jobs." A faint smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. "Someone has to make sure things don't fall apart." She let out a short laugh. "Don't get philosophical with me. Just finish up and get out of the way." "I will," he said evenly. She paused, studying him more closely now. There was something about him that didn't quite fit her assumptions. He didn't avoid her gaze. He didn't rush. He didn't apologize. Still, the jumpsuit, the cart, the rag, everything about him screamed insignificance in her world. "What are you, exactly?" she asked. "Maintenance. Janitorial staff." He hesitated for half a second. "I handle what needs handling." Her laugh rang louder this time, sharp and dismissive. "That's a new one." He turned back toward the helicopter, checking a panel near the cockpit. Alara's irritation deepened. She hated being ignored. "You'd better not touch anything important," she snapped. "This helicopter is worth more than you realize." He glanced back over his shoulder. "I know exactly what it's worth." Something about the certainty in his voice made her bristle. "Oh," she said. "And I suppose you know how to fly it too." His hands stilled. He straightened fully now, facing her. "I could." The rooftop seemed to freeze. For a heartbeat, Alara simply stared at him. Then she laughed, long, incredulous, and loud enough that it echoed against the surrounding glass towers. A couple of executives chuckled along, eager to stay on her good side. "You," she said, wiping an imaginary tear from her eye. "Fly this helicopter." He nodded once. "Yes. That's adorable," she said. "This aircraft requires thousands of hours of flight time, specialized training, and clearance you couldn't dream of." "Dreams aren't necessary," he replied. "Experience is." Her smile hardened into something cruel. "Let me guess," she said. "You've flown simulators. Watched videos online." "No," he said. "I've flown worse." The confidence in his tone felt like a challenge, and Alara had never walked away from one. She stepped closer, close enough that she could smell oil and metal on him, close enough to look directly into his eyes. "All right, she said slowly, deliberately raising her voice so everyone could hear. Let's make this interesting. The executive shifted, sensing trouble but unwilling to interrupt. If you can fly this helicopter, she continued, take me up, give me a nice little tour of the city, and bring me back down safely. She paused, letting the moment stretch. I'll marry you. A stunned silence fell over the rooftop. Someone sucked in a breath. Someone else whispered her name in disbelief. The wind seemed to hush, as if waiting for his response. The man, Aiden, according to the name tag, studied her carefully. Not her clothes, not her status, but her face. There was no embarrassment in his eyes, no anger. Just quiet consideration. You're serious? He asked. As serious as I ever am, she replied coolly. Unless you're afraid. A few executives snickered. Alara crossed her arms, victory already forming in her mind. She expected him to back down, to mutter an apology, to retreat into the role she had assigned him. Instead, he nodded. All right, he said simply. Deal. The word landed like thunder. Alara blinked. Excuse me. I'll fly, he repeated. You'll ride. Her confidence wavered for the first time, just a fraction. That's not funny, she said. I'm not joking. One of the executives stepped forward nervously. Ms. Vance, perhaps this isn't. She raised a hand, silencing him, eyes locked on Aiden. You don't have clearance, she said. You don't have authorization. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, worn card holder. He didn't open it yet. You gave me permission, he said calmly. In front of witnesses. The wind whipped harder now, rattling something loose inside her chest. She had meant it as humiliation, a spectacle. She had not expected acceptance. You're bluffing, she said. Then call security, he replied. Or let me prove it. The challenge hung between them, heavy and undeniable. Alara straightened, pride surging to smother the flicker of doubt. She would not retreat. Not now. Not ever. Fine, she said. Do it. And as Aiden turned toward the helicopter, moving with an ease that no janitor should possess, Alara Vance felt, though she would never admit it, a strange, unfamiliar sensation creeping in. Uncertainty. The rotors began to turn with a low, deliberate thrum that vibrated through the soles of Alara's shoes. At first it sounded distant, almost harmless, but within seconds the noise deepened, swelling into a powerful roar that swallowed the rooftop whole. Wind tore across the helipad, tugging at her hair and forcing her to brace herself. The executives stepped back instinctively, jackets flapping wildly, faces tight with alarm. This is insane, someone shouted. Alara barely heard them. Her eyes were fixed on Aiden as he climbed into the pilot's seat. With an ease that made her stomach tighten. He didn't rush. He didn't hesitate. He moved as if the helicopter had been waiting for him all along. When he reached for the controls, his hands settled there naturally, confidently, like they belonged. You're still in time to stop this, she called out, forcing steel into her voice. He glanced at her through the open door. Are you getting in, or not? For a split second, pride battled instinct. Then pride won, as it always did. She stepped forward, allowed him to guide her into the passenger seat, and strapped herself in with sharp, efficient movements. The door slid shut, sealing them inside a bubble of glass and sound. The helicopter lifted, not with a violent jerk, not with chaos, but smoothly, so smoothly that Alara barely felt the moment the ground fell away. The city dropped beneath them, the helipad shrinking into a gray square among countless others. Her breath caught despite herself. Aiden's voice came through the headset, calm and steady. Comfortable. She swallowed. Just fly. He did. They rose higher, banking gently as the skyline unfolded around them. Sunlight reflected off glass towers, turning the city into a mosaic of light and shadow. Cars below looked like toys. People became indistinguishable dots. Alara had flown dozens of times before, but never like this. There was no turbulence, no abrupt movement, only control. Her fingers tightened around the armrest. You said you could fly, she said. You didn't say you were this good. I said I could, he replied. I don't exaggerate. She glanced at him, really looked this time. His expression was focused but relaxed, eyes scanning instruments and horizon with equal familiarity. This wasn't luck. This wasn't bravado. This was mastery. Where did you learn? She asked quietly. First time, he said. In a desert. Old transport chopper. Barely held together. That's not an answer. He smiled faintly. Military. After that, private contracts. Test flights. Rescue operations. Her heart skipped. Rescue. People don't ask questions when you're pulling them out of bad places, he said. They just trust you. The helicopter banked again, smooth as a thought. Alara felt something shift inside her, something deeply uncomfortable. Then why, she asked slowly, are you cleaning helicopters on my roof? He was quiet for a moment. The city stretched endlessly beneath them, her city, built on deals and dominance and carefully calculated victories. I wasn't cleaning, he said. I was inspecting. That's not what I meant. I know. She waited, irritation mixing with curiosity. So explain it. Aiden exhaled, eyes still forward. My family owns this building. And several others. We don't put our name on everything. Her chest tightened. That's not funny. I'm not joking. She stared at him. You expect me to believe you're some kind of, what, undercover billionaire? No, he said calmly. I expect you to believe I didn't want to be one. The helicopter leveled out, hovering above the river. Sunlight glittered on the water below. I stepped away, he continued. From boardrooms. From titles. From people who only saw me as leverage. I wanted to know how the world treats you when you don't announce who you are. Alara's mouth felt dry. So you pretend to be invisible. I let people decide that on their own. The words landed harder than any insult. Images flashed through her mind. Her laughter, her mockery, the way she had looked at him like he was nothing. And what, she asked, voice tight, have you learned? That power reveals more than poverty ever does. The silence between them grew heavy. The helicopter began its descent, the city slowly rising to meet them again. Alara's thoughts raced, colliding with a truth she had spent years avoiding. She had built her empire on strength, on dominance, on never being the smallest person in the room. And yet, up here, none of that mattered. They touched down as gently as they had lifted off. The skids kissed the concrete, the rotors gradually slowing until the roar faded into a dull hum. The rooftop came back into focus, executives frozen in disbelief, security standing uncertainly at the edges. Aiden shut down the engine and removed his headset. Alara sat motionless for a moment longer, then unbuckled and stepped out, legs unsteady. No one spoke. She turned to face him, the wind tugging loose strands of hair across her face. For the first time in years, she didn't know what to say. You did it, she said finally. Yes. She laughed softly, but there was no cruelty in it now. I made a promise. You made a joke, he corrected. At someone else's expense. Her shoulders sagged, the weight of it settling in. You're right. The executives watched, stunned, as Alara Vance, unyielding, untouchable, lowered her gaze. I don't deserve that deal, she said quietly. I was arrogant, cruel. I saw a uniform and decided that was all you were. Aiden studied her, not unkindly. Most people do. She met his eyes again. But if I asked you now, without mockery, without an audience, would you even consider forgiving me? He was silent for a long moment. Forgiveness isn't the same as forgetting, he said. And marriage isn't a prize for passing a test. I know, she said. I'm not asking for either. I'm asking for a chance to be better than the person I was an hour ago. The wind swept across the rooftop, carrying the city's noise with it. Aiden finally smiled, not triumphantly, not smugly, but with quiet sincerity. Then start by seeing people, he said. Really seeing them. She nodded, emotion tightening her throat. I will. As he stepped away, blending once more into the space she had once dismissed, Alara Vance stood alone on the helipad, surrounded by glass and power and witnesses who no longer knew what to think. For the first time in her life, the city beneath her didn't feel like something she stood above. It felt like something she belonged to.